It's worth digressing at this early stage just to talk a little bit about slopes, these kind of slopes that you've got. This one here that I was alluding to in the under the brief, the first part of this. And also about rubble. So what you've got, chances are, and we don't know the depths of it at the minute, is you've got a new home built on this side, and they will have taken the rubble, as I said, mostly dumped it up here, levelled it off so it looks vaguely level to you, but of course you know you've got a 4% incline, and it will all be old bricks and mortar and goodness knows what from the house that was bashed down before, or whatever the building was before in your area. And then they will chuck topsoil on that, and topsoil is really a filler. It's not particularly nutritious or anything, which is why you may have got problems, and a lot of new homes certainly have problems growing anything grass. I know quite a few of my friends have problems with this at the minute. On top, some of that will have trickled down into the rubble to fill it in, and they'll level it off so it looks roughly right, and then they'll just have scattered some sort of grass seed on here. Remember that when you do, and if you do, replace the grass seed, and this is the sunny side, given that that's the north side, you need to make sure this is the kind of grass seed that can cope with lots of sun. And then under your, anywhere that's going to be more shade, you might want to put more shady. But I think you get quite a lot of sun. You get half a day of good sun in your garden from what I've seen from the photos before the houses on this side start blocking it out. And the great news is you've got just a shed on this side, so you're getting lots of sun in this way. So this would be a fantastic artist studio here, by the way, because they like north-facing light. Right, so I just want to talk to you a little bit about how we deal with challenges with slopes, okay? Now, number one option is to live with it as it is, and you have to decide. The more we go up the scale of complexity of what I'm talking about, the more time, energy and money and resources you're going to plough in. So in anything in gardening, it's like the old project management. You've got money and resource that you can put into something to sort the problem out, okay? You've got time, and if you've got time, then you don't have to put so much money in. If you've got the skills as well and the expertise, then time and skills is like a resource, and it means you have to put less money in. So for example, if Duncan or you can build things, paint things, then the less of your 2 to 3k budget you have to use up. But if you haven't got those, then this is going to be limited, and that is going to limit the quality of what you can do, the number, the type, the complexity of what you can do. And that's what you need to bear in mind in making your choices, okay? And only you can work out the factors of what you can put in here. Under the current situation, where Duncan might be at home a bit more, you might be around a bit more to be able to give a hand, etc., then you might actually choose to do a little bit more together and invest less from that angle to get things done. And you know your levels of skill. That's something else you might want to tell me when we've looked at all the options. So one of the things is leave it as it is, work with it as it is, but what you need to know is you'll get very precious plants will grow in something as superficial that. In the hot end, I'm not going to talk much about plants till we looked at the design. In the hot end, a lot of the Mediterranean there are some, like the ones that grow in the gravel garden if you can give them a bit of heat. And there's ones as well that will grow with shallow roots that we can search out. So everything is doable, it's what you want. Will you get vegetables to grow in it? I can't think of anything. Most of mine need a nice 6 inches or so to a foot of really nice soil that you can build up over time. Again, remember, time is not just the time you can put in now, but if you decide you want to have a beautiful vision for this, but do it over not just 2 to 3k, but 2 to 3 years, then of course you can explore your ideas, see what works for you, live in it 1 year, do the bit the next, rather than rushing at it. But you've lived there a little bit now. You probably know secretly what you want, or what I'm going to say might call to something in your heart that will trigger what you want to do. So one thing is leave it as it is, and I'll send you a couple of clips with this, where people have literally just, they use it to look out on from their house, and they're looking up a slope this way, and they've done parterres, or parterres is where you get little hedges and you grow around and then you grow beautiful things through the hedges. And, that's something you might choose to do, to look up your house, as it were, this way, have, your platform, if you've got it here, your parterre, and I'll show you some of these designs later. But we need to know, is that what you want? to have that, what I call minimal, and that's not rude because minimal can be good and you can decide living it a bit longer. But what you wouldn't want to be doing is putting in little hedges of, well, I wouldn't suggest box because it's a bit different, but you could have lavender hedges up this way with a little parterre with beautiful, lavender will grow to about a foot, bigger if you let it. And then popping up above the 1 to 2 foot of lavender, you can have other beautiful tall plants coming through at different times of year. But you wouldn't want to go to that hedge laying, right, and work, and then 2 to 3 years later or a year later change it all. So it's worth thinking at this stage whether you want this approach. The other thing you could do is you could, taking the slope, right, as it is now, is you could simply lay over the grass, so it's minimal work, as long as there's not too many weeds coming through. But hey, we all have to do some weeding now and again. We can't all be lazy. You could, this is more of an exaggerated slope. I don't think yours is anything this side, but you get the gist. You could lay some good soil over it. Now, what would happen if this was too steep? What you're going to get over time, but less so because yours isn't that steep, this soil will erode this way. So in sections you wanted to grow vegetables, and we haven't talked about how you want to section it up, or do something like that, you've got to be aware that you might get a little bit of creep over time. Okay? Taking that one step further, and remember you can do this in patches, I can show you how to do this in patches up there, is you could lay that soil down. However, can you remember or think about what we do to stop the creep? Every good geographer knows this. Think of the Mediterranean. Well, how do they grow their vegetables? They actually put in a kind of terracing effect. And the way that actually works is something like this. And again, it's exaggerated because they go up hills. And again, I'll show you some photos of this done, how you can do this. So you've got here, you've got the grass on it, and then you put in your terrace. I've got this in I can show you in my allotment, because that is weirdly on a northeast facing slope, which is the opposite to you. And it's terrible, but everything seems to like it and grow there. So everybody told me not to grow it there, but it was the only place I had to go, so I had to go, and it works well. In fact, if anything, it's too hot because it's very exposed to light because the west is over here. Anyway, that's a by the by. So what you do is you can see, you put in planks of wood or whatever you like over a certain area, and you backfill with soil here. And eventually this will just rot down. You can even take the turfs if you're really hard laborious, you want to be laborious. You can take your soil out, actually, your grass out. And as your grandpa Spencer used to do, lay the slabs, and I've seen your Uncle Julian do it, on another one and make a beautiful compost heap out of them. Or you can lay them down, they become great fertile soil. But why do that? Why not just leave them in there to be the nice fertile soil? So again, this is how the terraces grow. Hey ho, Mary Mo. I'm going to have to say Lizzie Lou. How do your terraces grow, not your garden? And that's how you get the terrace effect. And then, of course, you plant in there. And you'd be looking from here, woo, and sitting in my chair, having my gin and tonic. And you'd be looking up at your terrace. Now, your slope isn't that high, so you won't get that kind of effect. But you could block in 1 or 2 terraces or decide where you want it. And so I still would look at the aerial plan that we've got here, think about what you want where, work it back, but always think, how is it going to look from this end? Or wherever you're seating. And if you put a seat under here, what's it going to look like looking back that way? So you're going to be looking down on the terraces from the other way. So you'll be up here having your gin and tonic with me, except I'm more of a ginger ale girl these days, sadly. I don't know now and again. I've started to have a little brandy now and again. Patrick's very impressed, but very late at night, helps me sleep. Anyway, you'd be looking down on the terraces this way. And always think, do you want to look down on flowers or look up at vegetables? What do you want to look at? Okay?